Good morning. Welcome to the Avenue G Church of Christ here in Temple, Texas Bible study. This morning, we're going to continue our lesson in the book of Genesis, and we're going to be studying on a new topic. We are now going to be talking about Jacob and Esau. Our lesson is called just that, Jacob and Esau, and it comes out of the book of Genesis, and we're going to be reading from chapter 25, verses 24 through 34, and Genesis 27, verses 1 through 13. Some of the things that we're going to be discussing, we're going to talk about what Rebecca knew before the birth of her children. We're going to talk about when Rebecca gave birth. We're also going to be mentioning the names of her sons because their names have some meaning, and we'll discuss that. We're going to talk about the reason Esau sold his birthright and who helped Jacob to deceive his father Isaac. Now, we've chosen for a scripture for our lesson, Numbers 8:14 through 18. And I'll explain it to you just why I chose it when I get through reading it. And it reads, "Thus you shall separate the Levites from among the children of Israel, and the Levites shall be mine. After that, the Levites shall go to service the tabernacle of meeting. So you shall cleanse them and offer them like a wave offering. For they are wholly given to me from among the children of Israel. I have taken them for myself, instead of all who open the womb, the firstborn of all the children of Israel. For all the firstborn among the children of Israel are mine, both man and beast. On the day that I struck all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, I sanctified them to myself. I have taken the Levites instead of all the firstborn of the children of Israel." Okay, before we start our prayer, I just want to mention to you why I chose that particular scriptures. And that was because it tells you that at one time, those who spoke to God or through whom God gave his messages and they were to deliver it to others, it was the firstborn. And I mentioned that because of the birthright. And when you got the birthright, you got the privilege of being more or less the priest. And you would distribute the words that you heard from God, either in words or in visions, to the people. Okay, let us pray. Father, Most High God, Creator and Preserver of mankind, be with us this day and all the days of our lives. Help us, Father, to be able to deal with these tribulations that have come before us. Help us to go on and to proclaim your gospel to all that we can in any way that we can. Keep us safe, Father. Let us have patience. Let us be able to deal with the things that come down with us on a daily basis. Help us realize, Father, that no matter what, we know that you won't forsake us, but it's that it is we who forsake you. When we're troubled, when things aren't going our way, we seem to walk away when we should come to you and to get even stronger. Be with those who are suffering from illnesses, those who have lost loved ones. Let them hold fast to your unchanging hand and let them continue to do your will. Help us all, Father, to stay steadfast, to be a light, a path to you for others. For these and all blessings, I ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, this is where we're going to begin. I'm going to show you a little short video of Genesis before we actually start our lesson. We start on verses number 24, and this is going to let you know what happened just before then.
Welcome back to The Bible Says What? Today I will summarize Genesis chapter 25, where Abraham died and where we are introduced to Jacob and Esau. Abraham got married again after Sarah died to a woman named Keturah. She had 6 sons with Abraham. Before he died, Abraham left everything to Isaac, but gave gifts to the 6 sons of his wife Keturah and sent them away to live in the east. Abraham was 175 years old when he died. Ishmael and Isaac buried him in the same cave that Sarah was buried in. Ishmael had 12 sons who all became tribal leaders. They all had families that lived in hostility and war with all the other tribes around them. They all settled near the eastern border of Egypt. Ishmael died when he was 137 years old. Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah. Rebekah was barren and couldn't have any children until Isaac prayed and asked God to heal her. 20 years later, the Lord answered Isaac's prayer and let her become pregnant with twins. The twins fought inside her womb violently until she couldn't take it anymore. She prayed and asked God why this was happening to her. The Lord answered and said to Rebekah that she had 2 nations inside of her that would fight against each other all their lives. And God mentioned that the older brother would serve the younger. When it was time for her to deliver the babies, the firstborn was named Esau.
Okay, I stopped the video there because that takes us to right where we are today. And I wanted to explain a few things about those verses before we get to the ones that we're using today. You know, he mentioned that Abraham got married again to Keturah after Sarah had died. Well, many of the scholars don't believe that this was written in chronological order, and that when he said, they don't believe that it was after Sarah died. Don't believe that Abraham had 6 more kids after Sarah had died. You remember he was 100 and what? He was 100 over 137 years old. It was there's something else for him to be able to procreate at that age. Anyway, they don't believe that he had those kids. They believe that he had married, that Keturah was a concubine during the time that during the time that when Sarah was alive, and also that when Hagar was alive. Uh, it also said that he sent his kids away when he had given Isaac his blessings, his birthright. Well, they believe that all took place before then. And anyway, okay, I believe that takes us to about Rebecca. Just remember what they said in the video. You know, Isaac got married when he was 40, and his wife was barren, and he had prayed, and he told her that she was. He was told that she would. God reminded him about the prophecy about them being as many as stars in the skies, the generations and stuff. But then she started having trouble, and she started having pain, and she went and prayed to God, and uh, he told her that she had 2 nations within her womb, and that the older would serve the younger. So she knew that this was going to happen. Okay, that brings us to where we are right now. Genesis 25, verses 24 through 34, and we're going to read them in their entirety. And it reads, so when her days were fulfilled for her to give birth, indeed there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red. He was like a hairy garment all over. So they called his name Esau. Afterward, his brother came out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel. So his name was called Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. So the boys grew, and Esau was a skillful hunter, a man of the field, but Jacob was a mild man, dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau because he ate his game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Now Jacob cooked a stew, and Esau came in from the field, and he was weary. And Esau said to Jacob, please feed me with that same red stew, for I am weary. Therefore his name was called Edom. But Jacob said, well, sell me your birthright as of this day. And Esau said, look, I'm about to die. So what is this birthright to me? Then Jacob said, swear to me as of this day. So he swore to him and sold his birthright to Jacob. And Jacob gave Esau bread and stew of lentils. Then he ate and drank, arose and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Okay, so now we'll look at these verses one at a time. Oh, the other one. I'm sorry. Genesis 27, verses 1 through 13. Now it came to pass when Isaac was old and his eyes were so dim that he could not see, that he called Esau his oldest son and said to him, my son. And he answered him, here I am. Then he said, behold now, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now therefore, please take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me. And make me savory food such as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die. Now Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to Esau, his son. And Esau went to the field to hunt game and to bring it. So Rebekah spoke to Jacob, her son, saying, indeed, I hear your father speak to Esau, your brother, saying, bring me game and make me savory food for me, that I may eat and bless you in the presence of the Lord before my death. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice according to what I command you. Go now to the flock and bring me from there 2 choice kids of the goats, and I will make savory food from them for your father, such as he loves. Then you shall take it to your father, that he may eat it, and that he may bless you before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, look, Esau, my brother, is a hairy man, and I am a smooth-skinned man. And perhaps my father will feel me, and I shall seem to be a deceiver to him, and I shall bring a curse on myself and not a blessing. But his mother said to him, let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go. Get them for me. And we're going to take a couple of verses at a time. And we're going to read 24 and 25. So when her days were fulfilled for her to give birth, indeed there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red. He was like a hairy garment all over. So they called his name Esau. Okay, Rebekah was ready to give birth, and she knew that she had 2 children in her womb. She was giving birth to twins. The prophecy is coming true that had been told to her. 2 nations, and they're going to be at war with each other. Now, one was hairy like a man. He had so much hair on him, and his name was Esau because he was hairy. The other name was Jacob. Now, in some of the verses you read, they'll say supplanter, which means to supersede and replace. But in what we're reading today, they call him the heel grabber. Even in the womb, Jacob was fighting to come out first. Like the prophecy said, the older was going to serve the younger, and the one who was going to get the birthright and blessings was the firstborn. That was the way things were done. Now, the firstborn, he got the birthright, he got a double portion of inheritance. He was the head of the family. And I explained to you that he was like the priest, the go-between between the people and God. And he wore special garments. And those garments that he was to wear, they were kept by his mother, Rebecca. And I mention that because we don't actually get into it, but he puts on those garments. But Jacob puts on those garments when he goes to see his father. But Esau, being the firstborn, and they called Esau profane, he used to wear those garments to go hunting in. Blessings. Now here's a problem that occurs in this lesson. Firstborn get blessings also. That was the natural order. When you got the birthright, you got the blessings. They weren't actually two separate things. That was included in the birthright. Now they were at war with each other in the womb. I guess they was kicking and fighting in the womb. And, that's what gave Rebecca problems. And she went to God to ask, hey, what is this that's going on in me? And that's when God told her that, hey, there were two nations in her womb. And the older was going to be the servant of the younger. And Jacob was trying to come out first. Prophecy told to Rebecca, older would serve the younger. I'm going to say that about 4 or 5 times, 6 or 7 maybe. Now, Isaac was 6 years old when they were born. And at this time, I think Isaac was 137 when all this took place about him giving the birthright to Isaac. And you think about that. And he was 60 years old when they were born. He's 137 now. So that means they had to be about 70-something years old. He was 40 years old when prayed to God for a barren wife. Oh yeah, this is something else. Just like you think about Abraham when he was, I think he was 75 years old when he was told that he was going to have a kid. Now at 40 years old, Isaac prayed for his barren wife to have a kid. Now Abraham, he went on and tried to do his own thing and laid with his wife's handmaiden, Hagar. But Isaac waited, and he waited 20 years before his wife became pregnant. 27. So the boys grew, and Esau was a skillful hunter, a man of the field, but Jacob was a mild man dwelling in tents. Esau was a hunter. He used to stay out in the field and he liked to hunt. I don't know if he slept out there, but you can't sleep out in the rain out in the woods, but he loved being in the wilderness. He killed animals, he killed game, and he stayed out in the field. And Jacob wasn't anything like his brother. You know what? They didn't even look alike. Like you said, he was real. One was real hairy, and one was smooth skin. And they say that Jacob was something else. I'm going to mention it now. I probably will mention it later, but they said that Jacob was profane and he was an fornicator. And the reason being was when I told you about him wearing those priestly garments to go hunting in, but also Jacob had married 2 women. Now you say that's not uncommon. All of them had wives, but Jacob did one thing that nobody else was doing. Jacob married 2 women at the same time. And it would seem like his parents would not have approved of that, and they knew that he had married 2 women. And you wonder why Isaac loved them so much. I don't know, because you remember what Abraham had been told not to not to let Isaac marry any Canaanites, and now Esau. I hope I said Esau. Esau was the one who married 2 women. If I didn't get that, I have a tendency to mess up them names. Esau was the one who married 2 women, and they were Hittites. And Isaac loved Esau because he ate of his game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Oh, there's a problem already. Favoritism shown by both parents. One loved one son and the other loved the other son. And one was his mama's favorite. I guess you called him a mama's boy. That was Jacob. And the other was Esau's, and he was Isaac's favorite. Now, why did Isaac love Esau so much? Because Isaac loved eating wild game, and Esau used to go out and hunt and bring that wild game back and fix him some food to eat. And Jacob, now he was more, like I said, he was mama's boy. He's a stayer. He stayed at home, and he learned how to take care of animals. And they also mentioned that he learned how to cook. Jacob got slept inside tents, and Esau was out in the wilderness. Now, favoritism shown to children divided the family. Their attachment to two different kids caused problems. I guess one would know that one was favored and by the mama, and the other was favored by the daddy. And why did Rebecca love Jacob so much? Maybe, not maybe, it was more than likely because of the prophecy that she had been told that the older was going to serve the younger. So she knew that Jacob was going to be getting the birthright and the blessings. 29. Now Jacob cooked a stew, and Esau came in from the field, and he was weary. Now I wondered about that. Jacob had been cooking the stew while Esau had been out hunting game. Now was this his original? Was this all planned or anything? Something, or this was just providence? This just happened this way. But Esau came in, and when he came in, he was exhausted. He say, he's going to say, I feel like I'm going to die, but he didn't mean he was going to die. But I guess you know how sometimes we go about and we don't eat, and we get hungry and your stomach starts growling and you want something to eat. I think that's the way that Esau was. He didn't believe, you don't believe he was getting ready to die, but he was definitely in need of some food, some nourishment. Number 30. And Esau said to Jacob, please feed me with that same red stew, for I am weary. Therefore his name was called Edom. Okay, the stew was made from some beans grown locally. And I think later on you hear him talk about lentils, and they mentioned that those were the actual beans. Now the stew he made came out, when he made it, it came out red. It looked red. And from then on, they started calling Esau Edom, which means red. And you think about that, you start thinking about the Edomites. Then he was famished, he was hungry, he wasn't about to die. He had a hard day hunting and he wanted some nourishment. Jacob said, hey, sell me your birthright as of this day. And Esau said, look, I'm about to die. So what is this birthright to me? Esau didn't really care nothing. Esau was not a religious person. He didn't care nothing about God. He proved that. Again, I mentioned wearing those doggone priestly garments to go hunting in. But Jacob took advantage of Esau's condition. Now, Jacob, he had to know. His mother had to tell him that the older was going to serve the younger, and this was going to happen. But he was deceiving his brother to get his birthright. There you go. He wanted that birthright. So he had his brother sell it to him because he didn't think nothing about it. But you know what? No, we're going to mention this later also. Esau believed that the birthright and the blessing was two different things, because he's going to mention later on, I think it's Genesis 27:36, where he's going to say that, hey, now you're stealing both of my things. You're stealing my birthright and my blessing. No, but they are all one. Both of them come under one condition. Firstborn gets both. Esau must have been really hungry. Hey, to sell his birth, all that. That means a double portion of the money, the head of the family. He had the, some say he may have thought selling birthright did not mean selling his blessings he was to receive. Just mention that. Birthright and blessings go together. They all go to the firstborn. Hey, was Jacob wrong for doing what he did? For deceiving his brother the way he did? Yes. He knew of the prophecy. Why didn't he just let things work the way God wanted them to work? But he going to try to do it his way. As with some of us always, we try to do it our way and won't rely on God. Okay, with that birthright comes authority and superiority over the family. That's what he was giving up for a bowl of stew, a double portion of the money, because Abraham was rich. He had money, he had property, he had animals. Priesthood, priestly garments, which Rebecca kept. I mentioned that before. That's why we read Numbers 8:14 through 18. He knew of the prophecy. His mother had to have told him. And this is one thing I'm not sure about. Did Isaac know about the prophecy? Did Rebecca tell him? I'm pretty sure she did, but it doesn't mention it. This event or one like it had to happen some kind of way. Things were going to turn around so that Esau didn't get the birthright. Now, had they waited on God to do it, it would have still turned out the way God said it would. But they didn't wait. They wanted to do it their own way. They wanted to get in there, deceive, and they wanted. He was lying. Jacob was lying, and Rebecca, she was a scheming individual. God said, older, hey, serve the younger. Verse 33, then Jacob said, swear to me as this day. So he swore to him and sold his birthright to Jacob. And Jacob gave Esau bread and stew of lentils. Then he ate and drank, arose and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Jacob had Esau sell his birthright for a bowl of stew. Ooh. Esau was a crafty individual in hunting and things, but right now Jacob proved to be more crafty than he was. Stew of lentils. That's just those beans that are grown locally. He ate, had his fill, and went his way with no birthright. Esau is called a profane person because of what he did, the things he was doing. Married two women at the same time. And they were Hittites, idolaters, Canaanites, really. He sold his spiritual right for a pot of stew, a bowl of soup. He was a fornicator to those two idolaters that he married at the same time. And you think about this, he does what some Christians do today. Give up a gift of God for one bowl of stew. But we do the same thing, but we do it in a little different way. Some Christians, for a few moments of pleasure, give up that spiritual gift that God is going to give us, and that's eternal life. How do we do that? Get that pleasure from fornication. Fornication is a sin. Bowl of stew, moments of pleasure, are they worth the spiritual gift that belongs to us? Is it? Just think about that. For a few moments of gratification, you gave up what? Eternal life, to be with the Heavenly Father. Esau must have been thinking he still would receive the blessing of his father. There you go, Genesis 27:36, where he says, he tells Jacob, he tells Isaac that Jacob has stolen his birthright and his blessings, but they were all one together. Birthright, blessing goes to the firstborn. Now, did the birthright belong to Esau? No, it didn't, because God said the older was going to serve the younger. So it wasn't his birthright, because God said it was going to go to Jacob. We're going to go with on video on chapter 26.
Welcome back to The Bible Says What? Today I will summarize Genesis chapter 26, where Isaac followed the way of his father Abraham, and not in a good way. There was another famine in the land, and Isaac was about to pack up his family and go to Egypt to find food. But God appeared to Isaac and told him not to go to Egypt, but stay in the land that he was in. God promised to give him what he needed and reiterated the promise he gave to Abraham about making his descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and through his offspring all nations would be blessed. So Isaac did not go to Egypt. Instead, Isaac stayed in the land and went to a nearby place called Gerar. You may remember Gerar, where Abraham deceived the king named Abimelech. Well, guess what? Like father, like son. As soon as Isaac went to Abimelech's land, he told everyone, including King Abimelech, that Rebekah was his sister, because he was afraid they would kidnap her and kill him. He quickly fell into sin and did not trust the Lord, almost as quickly as his father Abraham did many years before with the same exact people. Abimelech saw Isaac touching Rebekah in a way only a husband touches a wife. So he called for Isaac right away. The king asked, "What have you done to us? Why did you deceive us? One of the men may have married Rebekah and brought guilt upon the land." Isaac told the king that he was afraid they would kill him over Rebekah. The king, I'm sure, sighed heavily and rolled his eyes and probably thought to himself, "Why didn't your father tell you about the oath we both took to be enforced by all of our descendants? Remember the one where Abraham promised never to deceive me, or none of his descendants would deceive me? Why did you break that oath?" But once again, Abimelech forgave the family of Abraham. He then told the people not to harm Isaac or his family and let them live wherever they wanted. Because of this protection issued from the king, Isaac grew very wealthy in that land with crops and livestock. After a while, King Abimelech told Isaac that unfortunately he had to move out of his land. All the Philistines were jealous of how well the Lord was taking care of him, and told Isaac that his family had become too numerous and powerful for them to live in the same land. So Isaac picked up his large family and left the area. Isaac then started to dig wells in that new land for water. When he did that, some herders from that land quarreled with him over the well. Then again and again. If you remember, the same thing happened to Abraham as well. A while later, Abimelech took his army commander and went to Isaac to make a treaty with him. The king probably thought, it's deja vu all over again. The king asked Isaac to make an agreement with him to never harm his people, and his people would never harm Isaac's family. Isaac made a feast for them and then signed the treaty, and they swore an oath to each other. Then they departed. On the same day, Isaac's servants raced to tell Isaac the good news. They dug a well with lots of water, and no one wanted to take it from them. Isaac called the well and surrounding land Sheba, and to this day it is called Beersheba. The most important verses in this chapter are Genesis 26:4 and verse 5, which state, "And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws." The thing I think the Lord wants us to understand after reading this chapter is the fact that Isaac followed after his father Abraham's footsteps. God made a covenant with Abraham and with Isaac despite their sins. God will do the same thing for us. We are all sinful people, but God will make his covenant with us through Jesus Christ. Even if we stumble and fall, God is faithful to his word and his covenant and will not break his promise to save us when we trust in Jesus. Have you ever placed your faith in Jesus? Repent for your sin and turn to Jesus for salvation today, so you don't have to pay the price yourself. The Father loved us so much that he sent his Son to pay that price, and whosoever will believe in him will not perish but will have everlasting life. Ask the Lord to forgive you and save you. Trust that what Jesus did on the cross was to pay for your sin, and believe that the Father raised Jesus from the dead. Make the choice to be saved today.
Then he said, Behold, now I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now, therefore, please take your weapons, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me. And make me savory food, such as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die. Okay, Isaac is old. Did he know who was supposed to receive the birthright? I mentioned that before. I'm quite sure Rebecca had told her about her vision or what she had heard and the prophecy that was given to her that the older would serve the younger. So he must have knew, but he was going to do what he wanted to do anyway because he loved Esau. He was trying to give it to Esau without Rebecca knowing, because you don't hear anything from him about telling Rebecca that he was going to give his blessings to Esau at that time. So he was probably being sneaky. Okay, Isaac is old and ready to give to the son he loved the most. He wasn't thinking about Jacob. He was thinking about, hey, firstborn is supposed to get it. That's my son, and this is the one that I love because he gives me that good meal. He said, man, way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Well, verse 2, then he said, Behold, now I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now, therefore, please take your weapons, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me. And make me savory food such as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, that my soul may bless you for before I die. I just got through reading that. None of us know when we're going to leave this place. No man, no matter who he is, knows the time of his death. And it's believed that he wasn't saying that. But what he actually was saying is, there's no telling when I may die. You remember, he lived about 30 to 40 more years after this particular time. And you wonder about that. They said his eyes, but then he couldn't see. Was it just for this time? Did he get his sight back later on? I don't know. But he lived 30, 40 more years. Isaac was 137 years old when this was occurring. I mentioned again, that makes, if he was 137, that makes Jacob Esau 77 years old. Isaac wanted Esau to go hunting for that meal. Bring him something to eat. Now, why did he want something to eat? Was he hungry, or the food that he wanted, the food that he liked, so he may bless him? One of the things about it, when you read it, they talk about his son and her son, and there was partiality between Rebecca and Isaac over their sons. And hey, it shouldn't have gone on back then, and it shouldn't go on now today in our lives. This is an example for us what happens when you show favoritism to your kids, one over the other. Hatred between great races of people began here because of their favoritism. We never read about God's approval or disapproval of the action of Isaac or Jacob or Rebecca. I meant that I should have put her in there because all of them was wrong. Isaac was doing something he shouldn't have done because the birthright was supposed to go to Jacob. He wanted to give it to Esau. Jacob was deceiving his brother, which he shouldn't have done. And Rebecca, she was just a scheming individual. Now, did God punish them for doing wrong? Did they suffer any? Well, you look at some things that occur, you know, after this act, we never hear any mention of Isaac anymore. Like I said, he lived 30, 40 more years. Rebecca, did she suffer? Well, when Jacob left to go find him a wife, she never saw him again. When he came back, she was dead. What about Jacob? Well, Jacob suffered at the hands of her brother Laban, her brother. He had to work 7 years for Rachel and 7 years for Leah. That was some hard work, some labor. And why? It makes me wonder, why would you treat, because that was his nephew. Why would he treat his nephew like that? Oh well. Genesis 27, verse 5, it says, now Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to Esau, his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt game and to bring it. So Rebekah spoke to Jacob, her son, saying, indeed, I heard your father speak to Esau, your brother, saying, bring me game and make me savory food for me, that I may eat it and bless you in the presence of the Lord before my death. Okay, Rebekah heard Isaac. Was she eavesdropping? Or did she just happen to be there? Did she see Esau go into his tent and didn't go over there to listen? I don't know. But anyway, she was there and she heard what he had told his son, because she was a scheming individual. She calls her son after she had heard this, and they begin their deception. She tells him what Isaac said to Esau. Now, therefore, verse 8. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice according to what I command you. Verse 9. Go now to the flock and bring me from there 2 choice kids of the goats, and I will make savory food from them for your father, such as he loves. Okay, she got a plan. Now, did she come up? No, I guess she heard this and she said, well, she started scheming and plotting. Sound familiar? Plotting and scheming. And anyway, she came up with a plan on how she was going to get over on Isaac. Told Jacob to go get 2 goats. She going to cook a meal for Isaac like he loves. But she must have been a real good cook, because she's going to make this goat taste like the meal he takes. But then again, some people say, well, if he was so old, how did he, he probably couldn't taste that good, or who knows. But then that goes against what we hear later on about his smell. He had his sense of smell because he smelt Jacob, because Jacob had on those priestly garments. And those priestly garments that he had on had that smell that out in the field, because Esau used to wear them out when he went hunting. So I don't know. Anyway, she's gonna make that goat taste like the wild animal, like that wild game that he liked to eat. And Isaac's state of health was not very good. Yeah, okay. Okay, verse 10 through 12. Then you shall take it to your father, that he may eat it, and that he may bless you before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, look, Esau, my brother, is a hairy man, and I am a smooth-skinned man. Perhaps my father will fear me, and I shall seem to be a deceiver to him. Oh, feel me, and I shall seem to be a deceiver to him, and I shall bring a curse on myself and not a blessing. Okay, she told Jacob to deceive his father with her meal. Was she right in doing what she's doing? Nope, she should have waited on the Lord. Even though Jacob was supposed to receive the birthright, she had to scheme and plot and lie and have him become a liar. She was not right in what she's doing. but she wanted him to get the blessing from his father. Now, Isaac, his eyesight was poor. And I mentioned again, he lived some 40 years. So this must have been the providence of God, because, hey, was his eyesight bad for those 40 years? We don't know. Did he get his eyesight back? I don't know. But he lived 40 more years, 30 to 40 more years. Jacob was not concerned with deceiving his father, but he worried about getting caught. He wasn't worried about lying to his father, but he was worried about getting caught at his lie. That's just like some of us do today. You hear about people making confession. If they had never got caught at what they were doing, or people didn't find out what they were doing, they'd have never made a confession. So they don't worry about doing what they did, but they worry about getting caught at doing what they did. He did not desire to have the curse put on him. No, who does? Jacob worried about his father might touch him and realize he was not Esau. His mother said to him, "Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go and get them for me." He told me, get them goats so she can make that meal. If there was any curse to be given, Rebecca said she'd take it. You ain't got to worry about it. I'll take it, my son. Now, she knew the prophecy. Maybe that's why she thought she had to help out God to carry out his prophecy about Jacob getting the birthright and the blessing. It could have been done another way, right? God, if they hadn't done what they did, it would have been done because God said it was going to be done. But no matter, it was going to be done. And that brings us to the end of that lesson. And we look at our applications. Esau's impulsive behavior stands as an example to avoid, rather than living only for the moment, as he was when he was thoughtlessly sold his birthright. We must think soberly about the consequences of our behavior. And that's something else too. You just think about that. You do something, commit a sin, and if you don't repent of that sin, you got problems. Individuals who cavalierly yield to temptation mirror the behavior of Esau. Those who wish to please God instead must seek the way of escape. For every temptation that comes before us, there's a way out of it, but most of the time we don't like it, the way we got to take to get out of it. God's ability to accomplish his will, despite the obvious flaws in the family of Abraham, is encouraging. Neither favoritism, jealousy, schemes, or lies could thwart his intentions. We should rejoice that he is able to use imperfect people to accomplish his perfect plan. Truly, the Most High rules in the kingdom of men. That takes us to our questions. What unusual fact did the Lord tell Rebekah about her children before they were born? That there were two nations in her womb, and that the older shall serve the younger. What was unusual about Rebekah's pregnancy? Hey, at this time, twins were very unusual. But I heard later on, when they were in Egypt and they were reproducing, they must have been having twins and triplets because they reproduced fast and they grew to outnumber the Egyptians. What does the name Esau mean? Hairy. All right. What does the name Jacob means? Now you could have said supplanter, but we know it by the lesson of the heel grabber. What did Esau sell his birthright for? He said, I'm glad they put that in there in the New King James Version. They said stew, but in the King James Version, I think it says sod or potter or pottage. I didn't know what it was, but I'm hungry. Why did Esau sell his birthright? Because he was hungry. Yeah. Okay. What did Isaac plan to do for Esau? What did Isaac plan to do for? He planned to bless him before he died. All right. Last one. Who intervened to help Jacob impersonate Esau? That scheming individual, his mama, Rebecca. All right, all right. That's the end of that lesson. And I thought we would be going on to see about uh, uh, Jacob's marriage to Rachel. I get ready to say Rebecca, Rachel and Leah, but we're not. We're going into another part of Jacob's life. So God bless you, and hopefully we'll come together again on next week. Thank you.